Welcome back. So today we are getting into one of the biggest, most important questions in tech, period. How do we get AI to tell the truth? It's a massive challenge, and we're going to break down exactly how some of the top researchers are trying to crack it.
All right, let's just get it right to it. You know the deal. You ask an AI a pretty straightforward question, and it gives you the super confident answer that is completely, totally made up. You've probably heard this called hallucination, and honestly, it is the #1 reason we can't fully trust these tools yet. So yeah, the big question is, how do we fix this?
So, before we go any deeper, let's just define what we're aiming for. The goal is factuality. And look, this is more than just being right. It's about an AI's power to give you information you can actually check against a real source. And, maybe even more importantly, for it to know when to just say nothing instead of inventing an answer. That right there is the gold standard everyone's chasing.
Okay, so here's the plan for today. We'll kick things off with AI's trust problem. Then I'll introduce you to a brand new test for factuality. We'll get into the 4 big challenges that make up this test, check out who's on top of the leaderboard, and then wrap it all up with why any of this really matters.
So, how do you even begin to make an AI more truthful? Well, it's not as simple as just throwing more data at it. You see, before you can make something better, you have to find a good way to measure it. And that's exactly what researchers at Google have been working on, a totally new, comprehensive exam to do just that.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers who wrote the paper put it bluntly. They say factuality is one of the most critical and challenging problems out there. So this isn't some small bug, it's a massive hurdle for the whole field. And their solution is something called the FACTS Leaderboard. The best way to think about it is like a final exam for AI truthfulness. It's not just one test either. It's a whole collection of tests all designed to boil everything down to one single holistic score that tells us how factual a model really is.
Now, this is where it gets really cool, how they actually test these models. It's not just some simple quiz. No, they've set up what you could basically call an AI decathlon, a series of 4 really different challenges designed to push every aspect of an AI's factuality.
So, the 4 events in this decathlon are: first, a visual test to see if it actually understands images. Second, a memory test, kind of like a closed book exam. Third is a research test to see how good it is at using search. And finally, a reading test to check if it can stick to the facts in a document you give it. Let's break each of those down.
First up, the visual test. And this is where we go way beyond just asking an AI, hey, what's in this picture? We're talking about a much deeper level of understanding.
You know, the technical jargon for this is multimodal knowledge. Basically, the test checks if an AI can connect what it's literally seeing in a picture with that giant library of knowledge it already has stored away to come up with a much smarter conclusion.
And this example just shows it perfectly. Look, any AI can read off the letters on the sign. But to pass this test, it needs to notice that the H and the I are a different color, and then connect that to human culture and realize it's a clever way of spelling hi. So it's not just a test of sight, it's a test of insight.
All right, so from sight and insight, let's jump to the second event in our AI decathlon, the memory test. This one is all about what the AI knows by itself, with 0 outside help.
This test of what they call parametric knowledge is basically a closed book exam. No Google searches, no looking things up. The AI has to answer using only the information that was baked into its memory during training. So the real question is, how much does it actually remember, and remember correctly?
And we're not talking about obscure trivia here. The questions are designed to cover topics we actually care about, things like musicians, actors, politics, and sports. This makes sure the AI's memory is being tested on stuff that's actually useful in the real world.
Now for the last 2 events, and they're really like 2 sides of the same coin. On one hand, you have the research test. Here, the AI gets to use a search engine. The goal is to see how well it can sift through the entire internet to find and piece together information for complex questions. But then you have the reading test, which is the exact opposite. The AI gets one specific document and is told to only use that source. This tests a totally different skill. Can the AI follow directions and not just start pulling in random facts it thinks it knows? It's a real test of discipline.
Okay, so we've run all the top AI models through this intense decathlon. The big question is, who came out on top? Let's get to the results.
This is it, the moment of truth. After all these different challenges, which AI model can we actually say is the most factual, the most trustworthy, right now?
And the winner is Gemini 3 Pro, with a final fact score of 68.8. Right behind it, you've got its predecessor, Gemini 2.5 Pro, with GPT-5 coming in at a very close third. This leaderboard really gives us an amazing snapshot of where things stand today.
And looking at this chart, you can really see the story. I mean, Gemini 3 Pro has a decent lead, but look how tight that race is for second and third place. We're talking fractions of a point separating them. Every little bit counts.
But the scores alone don't tell the whole story. What the researchers found was this fascinating difference in strategy. The Gemini models tend to be recall-oriented. They try to give you the most complete answer possible, including all the essential facts. The GPT models, though, are more precision-oriented. They focus on not making mistakes, even if that means the answer is a little less comprehensive. So it's a classic trade-off. Do you aim for completeness or do you aim for correctness?
So we have a new way to test factuality and the new leader in the clubhouse. But what does all of this mean in the grand scheme of things? Why does a benchmark like this actually matter?
Well, here's the big takeaway. Factuality is not a simple problem. It's super complex, with all these different dimensions. That's why having a really thorough test, like the FACTS Leaderboard, is such a game changer. It gives us a way to track real progress. And just as importantly, it gives developers a clear target to aim for, pushing them to build AI that we can actually rely on for important stuff, like medicine or finance, or just our everyday lives.
And that brings us right back to that winning score, 68.8%. Now, while that's number one on the leaderboard today, it also tells us something really important. Even the best model is still getting it wrong nearly a third of the time. We still have a very, very long way to go.
So we now have a much better ruler for measuring truth in AI. But it leaves us with one last big question. Is getting to a perfect 100% even possible? Or will we always have to deal with some margin of error? That's definitely something to think about.